Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. This is something new for us here at Central Baptist Church, our student ministry. I have a couple of guests today joining me. I've got Miss Leah, one of our students in the ministry that leads worship and sings and worships the Lord very, very faithfully every week. I have Miss Kim, who also leads and does those things, is an important part of our ministry and worship. And also I have Carson here, who you may know her and see her throughout the ministry and being involved and plugged in. And you know who I am, maybe not. I'm Jason. But again, glad to have you with us today. I wanted to sit down and do this this afternoon to kind of encourage some of you students and adults, wherever you're at, if you're listening to this. During this time, everything seems to have been changed or uplifted or just disrupted the patterns of our life. And I was thinking about this the other day, as everything that we thought was important during this time of the year, springtime, when we're doing all these activities, all these different things we're pouring our life into, they've ceased to exist, meaning they've just stopped automatically. Our life has been interrupted, right, through this COVID-19 pandemic that we have going on, and we've had to pull back and basically just be at our house. Now I know we're breaking some of the rules as far as the social distancing. I'm sorry about that. We're going to do our best to try to avoid spreading anything that we don't want to spread. But in the midst of us being isolated at home with all this time, that time can sometimes scare us or make us afraid, because that's something we're not accustomed to every day, as large amounts of free time or downtime where we don't have activity after activity after activity going on in our life, so it slows us down. So I wanted to get you in here to give a couple of words of encouragement, tell me where you're at and what's going on in your life, and then we'll end up kind of challenging you students or adults where you're at to engage with us and follow up from last week's lesson as far as our testimony. So Carson, kind of what's been going on in your life this past few days, if you don't mind sharing?
I think I'm going to go along with what he said. It's not the fear of the virus, but it's the fear of not having my routine. I went from being busy all the time to now just sitting at home and not having my routine. And I think that's something that God's trying to show me, is that that I don't have excuses anymore. I can't make excuses to spend time with Him and try and grow. And a verse that I like is Jeremiah 29:11 and 12, and it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans for your welfare, not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. You will call to me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you." And I like that verse because it just reassures me that God does have a plan for me, and as long as I just seek Him and keep praying and try and walk my walk, then He will be there for me and help me grow.
So even in the midst of where we're at right now and what's going on now, God still has a plan and a purpose for your life, and that's important for you to seek Him out during this time and look for the signs and the things that He's trying to show you in the midst of those things. What about you, Leah?
Even though I'm not worried about the virus, I'm not worried about how it's gonna affect me. It affects how I live my daily life, just like they said. I'm not as busy as them or anything, but I do other things, and those things are just gone. But Psalms 94:19 says, "When anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy." So just trusting Him, He can bring us joy even when we're afraid or something like that.
Okay, so giving us comfort when we're afraid, knowing that He's there with you, that He sustains you and helps you in your time of need. Well, thanks.
Ladies and I have been doing a Bible study on John 15, and my favorite verse from there is, "I am the vine, and you are the branches, and he who abides in me, and I in him will bear much fruit." And one of the things we've been reading and talking about is how God can bear fruit in these times. He's caused us to have to be still, so He can bear fruit in these times, in these hardships and the things that come our way, if we'll let Him. Bear good fruit, or we can bear bad fruit, and we can use it in a negative way. And just talks about how our response as a Christian can be different if we allow Christ to respond through us, instead of taking the human route and doing what we would do. So
Yeah. And so Him using us
right.
is an important part. And there's lots of times for us to serve in this time of need. I know that we can't get out and actively go and do things like we would normally do, but we can still reach out and text and communicate and encourage those that we've not heard from in a couple of days, and just kind of spread joy, if nothing else. That's what we can do, and Scripture tells us that that's part of where we're at, is sharing joy and spreading joy and ministering to those in that way. So a couple of things that I wanted to do was to encourage you as students, like we were meeting on last week. We were sharing our testimonies, and we had a really, really meaningful worship time where you were sharing your testimonies and different things that are going on in your life. Well, we fast forward to today, which is a week later. Lots of things have changed in your life. I mean, just your pattern, your routine, just different parts of your life have changed. So therefore, God's still moving and still working, but some aspects of your life and your testimony, what God's doing and revealing to you, may have changed. So what I want you to do is, we were sharing a scripture about the Samaritan woman and her encounter with Christ. And many Samaritans, from John 4:39, I'm going to read the scripture. It says, many Samaritans from her town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. He told me everything I did. So the Samaritans came and asked him to stay with them for a little while longer. And what it was her testimony was impactful where she was at. So what I want to do is challenge you to share your testimony. And this is how I want you to share your testimony with me, is I want you to kind of where you're at, take your phone or some kind of device, make a short video of what God's revealing to you, share scripture, share some words about what he's showing, what he's doing in your life, and maybe encourage other people. Now, these videos that you send to me, I'm not going to publish those. I'm not going to put them out, but it's for me to look at and just kind of see what God's doing. Now, if there's some that we want to publish or put out, then I'll ask for permission to do those things. But I think each of you has a voice where we're at right now, and it's a time for you to use the media you have to encourage others. And you sharing your testimony of what you can do to help, or what God's doing in your life in the midst of this time, can be comforting to others and encourage you to share those things. So any of you ladies have anything else you want to say before we wind this thing down this afternoon?
I think with the sharing the testimony thing, on social media, a lot right now, all I see is about the virus. And I think if we each start planting little seeds, then eventually it will grow to something beautiful and something that can really change.
Good.
Yep. Anybody else? So I encourage you to share your testimony, to record it, make a short video. And what I'm going to do is, at the end of this, I'll have a link where you can email or send this video to me, and we'll look at them and kind of go from there. But be looking for more videos, different people coming in or out, whatever the case is, but just ways for us to encourage you through this time, through a different medium, rather than coming and sitting in on a Wednesday night or a Sunday morning or whatever the case is, sitting in a Sunday school, how we can encourage each other through video or through lessons of different methods. So again, thank you for coming in and joining with us today, and just continue to share the love of Christ and be an encouragement where you're at. Thank you. Bye.